1. This is simply a very weird story that I currently have no explanation for. I live in a very rural area and I'm often awake at night. I usually take long walks around the area even in complete darkness. I'm not tired and know all the ways like the back of my pocket. Usually nothing happens, nobody is on the streets, and I do enjoy the silence and looking at the night sky. I don't take my phone with me since the battery is crap, and I always forget to plug it in the night before. Yes, this means that I don't have video evidence, and I'm sorry if this story sounds made up. So a few months ago, around 3 a.m., I walk across a field when suddenly I notice an insanely bright light in the distance. It seemed like it was coming from behind a mountain, either from the ground or hovering closely above the ground, but a few kilometers away. It was about as bright as lightning, almost as if the sky is blinking, hence the title. I immediately panicked and ran towards the town I was coming from, since my first thought was that it was lightning and, well, you're not supposed to be out in the open when there's a storm coming. As I reached the nearest street, I turned around and wondered where the thunder was. But there was no thunder, nor any kind of sound. Complete silence. The sky was clear, no clouds. Well, sometimes you get that when a storm is far away, but the flashes weren't dim and the blinking didn't seem to be natural at all. It seemed man-made, flashing irregularly more or less every 3 seconds and illuminating the entire sky, about as bright as a lightning bolt, but flashing like Morse code. This went on for about 20 minutes. The lightning didn't go away or grow dimmer. It just stayed at the same brightness and then, boom. Then it suddenly stopped, and the sky was dark again. During those 20 minutes I walked home, still under the impression that it might be a thunderstorm. There was a strong wind, but otherwise nothing. At 3 a.m. there is nobody on the street, as I said, very rural area. At a nearby supermarket, a worker delivered a pallet, and he didn't seem to notice or care about the light. I didn't approach him, though. The whole event seemed surreal. I mean, how would you feel if you went outside and suddenly the sky starts having graphics driver issues? I then shrugged it off as, well, it's weird, but it didn't harm me, so whatever. But the next night, at 3:30 I was out again, and the same lightning happened again. A bit shorter this time, 10 minutes. I did not expect it to happen again, so I was out in the middle of the field. Running back home to grab a camera was pointless, since it would have been over by then. At least that's what I thought, so I just watched. After that I carried my camera, but the thing, whatever it was, didn't come back. This was not a thunderstorm. I've seen many thunderstorms, but none that blink in Morse code in complete silence. The light seemed to come from a central source that didn't move, and was about as bright as a lightning bolt, but circular in shape, as if it was coming from one light point. I've been going through a bunch of theories as to what this light was, but I've come up with nothing plausible. Airplane, yes. There are airplane routes above me, but this light was 1,000 times stronger. It was insanely bright like a lightning bolt, not I saw a weird blinking star like bright. The light illuminated nearly the whole valley, no airplane, star, etc. is that bright. Concert lights. Plausible since it only happened 2 times. Could be a weekend concert. Again, I have not seen a concert light as strong as a lightning bolt that can illuminate an area for miles. It would explain the rhythmic blinking, though. However, who starts a concert at 3 a.m. for exactly 20 minutes? Broken electric cable, transistor station. This doesn't really make sense to me because it happened twice, and at the same time of day at that. Second, it didn't seem to be electric flicker. It was like if someone blinked a flashlight irregularly with electric flickering. The flicker is like beep 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 beep. If the flickering was a beep. This is more like beep, 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 beep. There are a few wind turbines on the mountain where the light was coming from, but no power plants. Hallucination. I don't take drugs, and I was under fresh air. There are, of course, tons of reports of strange sightings all over the internet. Even sightings in my area. Hell, I can find nearly 10 weird light reports for every day of the week. But the problem is that people mistaking streetlights as UFOs are just noise. I am not talking about a weird dot in the sky. I am talking about the sky rendering having graphics issues. So it seemed that nobody except for me noticed this light, and I can't find any reports due to all the noise. I am open for suggestions on what that blinking was because I really can't explain it. It hasn't happened again so far, and I'll be sure to take a camera with me now. I don't believe in ghosts or aliens, and it's not very important if it doesn't get solved. But it has just bugged me in the back of my head, you know? 2. So there's this guy I'm friends with who is unmistakable to recognize. Let's call him Jake. He's 6'8", has a massive poof cloud of curly black hair, and always, and I mean always, wears bright red Jordans. The other day I was on the bus going to my university campus. When I got off, I noticed Jake's elongated body and huge hair about to get on another bus at the stop. I had just gotten off, for the sake of the story. The bus number was 200. He saw me, smiled and waved, then got on the bus. I returned the gesture and started making my way to class. Once I got to my building, I stood outside the lecture hall where, to my utter disbelief, Jake walks out, wearing bright red Jordans, a red lifeguard hoodie, and Adidas track pants. The same exact thing I saw him wearing when he got on the bus before. He noticed my state of confusion and asked what was wrong. "You look like you've just seen a ghost." Well, Jaco, I might have. I didn't mention to him anything about my previous encounter, and I asked him where he was headed. "Just gonna run to the gym for a few hours. The 200's coming soon, so I gotta dip. But I'll catch you later." I'm sure you can imagine what I was thinking. I swear to God I've been going crazy over this since it happened, and I haven't seen him around since either. Update. Ran into Jake this afternoon when getting coffee. He asked me if I was on my way back to rehearsal, which I was, and if I was driving my brother's black Volkswagen Touareg, which I was. But he's never seen my brother's car before. Cautiously, I asked him why he was inquiring. Turns out he saw me getting into that car and outside the coffee shop and driving away, honking a hello at him. Side note, Jake was wearing his red Jordans, black jeans, and a white sweater with a light blue denim jacket over. His hair in a loose man bun. I had had enough of this, so I bought him a coffee and we sat down for a few minutes, so I could talk to him about my weird experience last week. He said he didn't remember seeing me before he got on the bus, but he did see his cousin who looks a lot like me, just as he stepped on. The only reason he remembered, though, was because he noticed she and I were wearing the same coat, jeans, and had the same hairstyle. Which was weird since his cousin is a brunette and I'm a bright blonde. Anyway, we had a little chat, but I had to run to rehearsal, so he walked me to my car and I hugged him goodbye. Realizing I only had about 10 minutes to get across town, all that had just happened went to the back of my mind, and I reached to put my seatbelt on and turn on the car. I should mention that the coffee shop I went to is right across the street from a bus terminal, so people are constantly walking in and out of those big doors. I managed to get on my way, but just as I was pulling out of the parking lot, I saw my buddy that owns a vape shop uptown walking towards the coffee shop from the bus terminal, wearing red Jordans, black jeans, a white sweater, and a light blue denim jacket over, his hair pulled back into a loose man bun. He waved at me, so I honked at him. A hello. I didn't realize what happened until I got to rehearsal and my co-director asked me what took me so long to get there. Does anyone have the universe's cell phone number? I have a few questions. 3. It was a Friday, and it had been a few hours after I had gotten home from school. I walked into my room to grab some blankets off my bed, because me and my little sister had planned to watch a movie marathon together, when something caught my eye. My bed has an outlet next to it, but it seemed to disappear. I moved closer, and I saw it reappear. The outlet did this multiple times in quick intervals, and then something snapped inside me. For some reason I felt elated, and I vividly recall laughing hysterically. I felt lighter than air. Then I was in the kitchen washing dishes. It took me a full minute to realize what had just happened and that something was very wrong. I looked around the house and I was home alone. It was also late into the night. It gets worse. At school, I was apparently friends with people I've never met, but had. It's hard to explain, but certain memories just felt wrong, like them being in my head was violating. Like they didn't belong there. When I think back to when the snap happened, it too much feels like I've been dunked in ice water. It was the closest I've ever been to becoming insane, and perhaps I was. It's been years now, and I've learned not to think of the past. I stopped trying to remember anything earlier than when all this occurred. It was really traumatizing because I couldn't correctly remember the past at all. I failed classes and almost didn't graduate. I don't know what happened, but I can't live the rest of this life keeping it to myself. Additional. Hey guys, I just came back to check on this post and I wasn't expecting the huge response, so thanks. In this edit, I'll be giving answers to some recurring questions I've seen whilst scrolling the comments. This happened back in 2010, and when I became aware again while washing dishes, my sister wasn't home anymore, and apparently hadn't been home yet at all. I also had missing time, probably around an hour tops, because while I was getting the blankets, it was early in the evening and the sun was setting, but after it happened, it was dark out. My family and I don't have a history of mental illness, but my mother does in fact have epilepsy. However, she had me tested for epilepsy and the results came back negative. This event no longer weighs me down nor holds me back from living my life to the fullest. If anything, it's something that'll come back to me on dark and lonely nights to reminisce about, due to the strangeness of it all. The memories of past events aren't gone, I didn't lose them, but a few of them are incorrect, and it's only memories from before 2010 when this happened. I appreciate the concern, and it brings me great joy to know there are lots of good people on here. 4. So it starts like this. My brother, cousin, my cousin's dog, and myself have the house to ourselves. It's a warm day out and we don't have AC in the house, so we go outside to hang out under a shady tree. We're just talking and just tossing a ball back and forth between us. The dog is also there hanging out with us, just chillin'. His name is Pete. He walks around here and there, but doesn't leave our sight. After a little while, my cousin, call her Paul, says she needs to go pee, so she goes inside. At this point, my brother and I also get up and start throwing the ball more energetically, and starts to become a game. So we're out there playing with the ball, when suddenly I see the dog Pete outside the gate, chilling on the sidewalk. Now, Pete is not allowed outside the parameters of the house, as it is dangerous. We live on a huge main street with heavy traffic, so it's a big risk letting the dog out unleashed. I get startled and start calling Pete back inside. He comes walking back calmly, and I open the gate for him so he can come back in. Kind of wondered for a little bit how he got out in the first place, but then just assumed he must have hopped through the neighbor's fence, which is pretty short. Looks like a possibility. So the dog comes in, and we continue our dumb little ball game. I see the dog go to the side of the house, out of our view, and I assume he's just gonna poop because this is his self-designated poop spot. Now I have to add, there is no other entrance to the house except the front door and the back door, and there is no way to get from the front yard to the backyard without going through the house first. So we're playing, and finally my cousin comes out of the house, and to our damn surprise, Pete the dog comes out of the house right behind her, happy as a doofus dog. This confuses the shit out of me, and I said, "How did Pete get inside the house?" As there is no way from our location except the front door, which was closed and in our view the whole time. Paul says nonchalantly, "Oh, I took him in with me to pee. He even followed me into the bathroom." My brother and I look at each other with confused faces, and we begin to explain to her that Pete was outside with us, and even escaped into the sidewalk for a little bit, and we had to bring him back in. Paul looks like we're playing a joke on her, and just laughs, thinking we're messing around with her. I run to the side of the house where I saw Pete go poop and nothing. No dog, no fresh poop. At this point, my brother and I start freaking out because who or what the fuck did we let in the house? We both swear it was Pete and that he never went inside with my cousin, but that reality shattered when we saw Pete come out of the house with Paul. And Paul had Pete with her the whole time in the bathroom while she peed. Pete loves Paul and follows her everywhere. We never could explain what happened that day because I know Pete was outside with us, and that we brought him in from the sidewalk and he went to the side of the house to poop. Then he just disappeared and then walked out with Paul. It's such a mindfuck still thinking about it because I cannot explain it other than it was some kind of doppelganger from another dimension or something. I wonder what would have happened had we kept Pete in our sight and didn't let him go to the side of the house out of our view. I wonder what would have happened if I had held Pete in my arms until Paul came out of the side of the house with the other Pete. Would we have two different Petes from different dimensions? I don't know, maybe I'll never know. All I can do is wonder. Not really looking for a logical explanation because I'm convinced there isn't one. But has something similar happened to anyone here? 5. I was 24 at the time when this happened. I had just moved into a room in a hotel about less than 2 months prior to the glitch. Before then, I had been helping out in the Occupy Wall Street movement, and there was a chapter of the Occupy movement in my town. So I decided out of sheer bravery to join and be a part of something bigger than me. I was a mostly very shy person, so I didn't go out much prior to the Occupy movement. Our chapter happened to stay about more than 9 months, so we were lucky to stay through the winter in the cold outside. I had moved into a hotel room as a temporary thing so I can get an apartment afterward. For those of you who don't know what the movement was about, basically back in 2011 we were angry that the banks got bailed out, and we set up a sit-in in front of the Civic Center or Government City, and we set up tents in front of them. That was our occupation. We would go out and protest and make noise, and then come back to the occupation. After a couple months, many of the protesters left, and it just became a place where the homeless could sleep. In the beginning, some people wanted to accommodate the homeless people because we believed that they were screwed over by the government, as much as we had been. So eventually it became a homeless camp, where the homeless had a place to stay. At the occupation, there was an African-American lady whom at the time was a homeless lady. She was a few years older than me. We happened to get along and we became fast friends. We would go out of our occupation and eat and have fun and then come back. We told each other stories and sat down inside the building next to us to get warm. She happened to come to the occupation later on. After the occupation had ended, we finally got evicted from the plaza in front of the city government. We went our separate ways and had not talked to each other since eviction. I was in the process of making her one of my forgotten Facebook friends too. That was when I moved into a room and in the process of getting an apartment. Before I had left, I had asked for her number so I can call her. Then one night, about less than 2 months after I moved into the room, I have a dream about her. By this time, I had known her only a few months. We had not talked to each other, I had not called her. She had not called me. I wasn't thinking about her the night before, so when I woke up, I thought it really odd. I rarely ever dream of my friends, besides a couple friends here and there. I rarely ever dreamed about them. In the dream, she's in my hotel room, standing on the bed, and we're talking about her boyfriend. She was moving around in my dream, then sat on my bed. She had mentioned his name and little details about him, like the fact that he spelled his name differently than other people spell it, and the fact that he has kids. I didn't see him in the dream, just saw her. And we were talking in the dream as if we were best friends like in the past. So I was weirded out by the dream, but I decided to call her in the morning anyway because I think that this can be vital information. And maybe this might be the person who she was meant to be with, since I do believe in soulmates. So I called her and tell her about the dream. I told her that I told her about the dream because this person might be your soulmate or something, and because you might meet this person in the future. She waits until I am finished and in hesitation, after a moment of long pause of what seemed like forever. That's funny. I've been dating a guy with that name right now. She mentioned the exact name she had told me in the dream. I got chills like crazy. To make things weirder, the details that she told me in the dream, about the fact that he had kids and the fact that he spelled his name differently, they were all the same things that she told me in the dream. She asked me if I saw him in my dreams. I said no, I didn't see him in my dream, so she sent me a picture. I know for a fact that this was a weird incident because of the fact that we had not talked to each other since that day we left. That was not the only glitch. I have had the same dream prior a few times. But she was a black figure, and she didn't even talk in that dream. Maybe in another universe she came to my hotel room and told me all that stuff. I don't know if it was a glitch or not, but every time I remember that incident, I get chills. I have a few recurring dreams, but have not had that dream since. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to 5 True Glitch in the Matrix Stories, Episode 85. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use and sent in stories for use in this video. An exciting update for you all on my Amazon adventures. As I may have mentioned, I did tell you about the packages that were tossed in the wrong bin, in the dirty bin instead of the relatively clean one. But I think I mentioned the package I'd ordered a few days ago that was meant to arrive the same day that they didn't bother sending me. Well, shockingly, I got a dispatch notice for the one-day delivery that I ordered on the 26th, and apparently it's prepping for dispatch. So that's lovely. I assume I'll possibly get it this week. I expect probably a full week, even though it was meant to be the same day, after I actually ordered it. Or certainly very nearly a full week, because if it arrives tomorrow, which it could do, that'll be almost a week. If it arrives Friday, that's a week. Anyway, I'm going to head off for now, so until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.